welcome back to this week's video. So this week's video is cells part 2 and just a little recap on cells part 1, which was last week. We just talked about what cells are. They are the basic unit of life, and we talked about the different types of cells. So there are many different types of cells, I'll tell you that. And then we talked about the cell theory, and there's 3 statements that 3 biologists made combined together to make the cell theory. And then we not only talked about the cell, but we also went deeper into the individual structures, so the specialized structures called organelles, and we talked about that. And then we talked about the 2 main organisms, so unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. Unicellular is made of 1 cell, multicellular is made of more than 1 cell. And then the cell organization, so many cells make tissues, many tissues make organs, and so on and so forth. And then we finally talked about the 2 main types of cells, so prokaryotic, which don't have nucleus and membrane-bound organelles, while a eukaryotic cell does. And this week, which is cells part 2, we'll be showing pictures for animal cells and plant cells, and then kind of comparing both of them and their similarities and differences, and then going a little preview on cell reproduction, and after that, just a little quiz. So with that being said, let's go right into this video. So BioBliss. And today's topic is about cells. Here are the pictures now. So this is an animal cell, and as you can see, we kind of talked about most of the things here before. It only has a cell membrane because we can move, and then there's cytoplasm, mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, and some of these terms you might not know. And then there's chromatin and nucleolus, and the ERs, rough and smooth, and vacuoles. And notice how the vacuoles here are tiny, right? So when we go to the next slide, the thing that just pops out to me here is kind of this whole big thing, right? And the reason why, like I talked before, it was because plant cells have a huge central vacuole because they need to store a lot of things, because getting food for them is pretty much more harder than for us, where we can just make food, right? They have to go through this whole process of photosynthesis, so it's much more harder. But they have more similar things. The other difference is they don't have cell membrane only, but they also have a cell wall, and they both have the ERs, and then chromatin, and the nucleolus, and ribosomes, Golgi apparatus, mitochondria. And then they also have chloroplasts, which are the green things that kind of give the pigment chlorophyll, which is used in photosynthesis. And they have cytoplasm, and that's kind of how the plant cell looks like. So now we're going to kind of say the difference between animal and plant cells. So I kind of think we've talked about this before, and just to summarize everything, so an animal cell only has a cell membrane and many small vacuoles, and a centrosome is something that organizes microtubules, and if you don't know what that is, that's okay, we'll talk about this later. And we have cilia and flagella for movement, which kind of are mostly for prokaryotic cells because they don't really have these membrane-bound structures inside of them. And then for plants, they have cell walls, which are made of cellulose and lignin, hard materials. And then they have different plastids, which are kind of like the things used for photosynthesis. So the most important one is chloroplasts. And they have this large central vacuole, which kind of just pops out when you see the cell. And it's for storing water and food. So what both of them have is they both have eukaryotic membrane. They're both eukaryotic, actually, and then they both have a membrane. They both have a nucleus, mitochondria, rough ER and smooth ER, and a Golgi apparatus. So now we're just going to give a little insight to cell reproduction, but next week we'll get a little more deeper into that. So this is kind of like a overview of it. So first we have mitosis. So mitosis is the process in which the nucleus divides to form 2 identical nuclei, meaning if a nucleus has 46 chromosomes, that means 2 identical nuclei would mean that each of them have 46 too. So in this picture, we have this mother cell, right? Okay. And then this mother cell does DNA replication goes through cell division to kind of form 2. And both of them are identical, so basically like twins. And mitosis is kind of used in the body, so we have more cells in the body. It's used to, it keeps on duplicating. So first we have 1, and then we have 2, and then we 4, and then we have 8. This is meiosis. So up top we have these two words, haploid and diploid. If you don't know what these are, perfectly fine. But haploid is if a sex cell does not have pairs of chromosomes, they're said to be haploid. So if there's no pairs of chromosomes with it, it's haploid. And a diploid is when cells have pairs of similar chromosomes. So basically, inside a sex cell, we have haploid are when they're just individual chromosomes that don't have a pair with it, but diploid is when they do have a pair. So meiosis is kind of the process which produces haploid sex cells. So basically, first two haploid sex cells combine to form a diploid zygote. Then the zygote divides by cell division to develop a new organism. So basically all that terminology means that if a nucleus has 46 chromosomes, then 4 haploid sex cells would each have 23 unpaired chromosomes. All right, and meiosis is a little more complex than mitosis, so I totally get if it does not make any sense to you. But it's kind of just saying that we first have this parent cell, but it's kind of like both of our parents combine, and then it goes through all of these phases, which will be in more detail later. And they at the end of meiosis 1, that stage, they have two cells, right? And then after that, they have 4 cells. But now they're haploid because they're not identical. So like before in mitosis, each of these had 46. Now, each of these have only 23. So it's not how we started off with 46 in our parent cell. So it's kind of different. So the quiz, this is just kind of just a quiz to see what you learned in this video. Okay, so number 1, white blood cells are one type of cell we talked about. And what is their job? The answer is C, help fight disease. Number 2, which statement from the cell theory was confirmed last? The answer is B, cells are made from pre-existing cells, again with the thought that all living things are made from living things. Number 3, do animal cells have a cell wall? The answer is A, no. Number 4, is the cell membrane? The answer is C, selectively permeable, again with the thought that it can determine what to let in the cell, what to not let, and stuff like that. Number 5, which organelle makes certain proteins? The answer is D, ribosomes. All right, number 6, what things are included along with the nucleus? The answer is B, nuclear membrane, nucleolus, and chromatin, which were the kind of parts with the nucleus. All right, number 7, what is another name to the energy mitochondria releases? The answer is A, ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. Number 8, what is the most important plastid in a plant cell? The answer is D, chloroplast, which was kind of the only one we talked about, so you probably should have guessed that because it's kind of the most important used in a plant cell. Number 9, what is the main difference between the rough ER and the smooth ER? ER means endoplasmic reticulum. The answer is C. One has ribosomes and the other one does not. Okay, so number 10, how many cells does a unicellular organism have? The answer is 1. A, 1, because uni means 1. All right, 11. What are the first 2 things in cell organization? So kind of that chain we were talking about. So the first 2 is D, a cell, and then many cells make tissue, and then many tissues make organs, and so on and so forth. All right, number 12. Do plant cells have many small vacuoles? The answer is B, no. It only has one central vacuole, while animal cells have many small vacuoles. Number 13. What is the cell wall in a plant cell made of? It's fine if you don't know this. The answer is A, cellulose. All right, number 14. Which cell reproduction process produces two identical nuclei? So kind of the same 46, 46. The parent has 46, the result. So the daughter cells have 46. The answer is mitosis, which is C. All right, and two more. 15. What happens when two haploid sex cells combine? So kind of your two parent that have 50% of your DNA from each parent. It creates you, so it creates a diploid zygote, which then makes haploid sex cells for your generations and forth. Number 16, how many stages does meiosis have? You know, it's more complex than mitosis, so that's a hint. And it has 4 stages actually. These are the kind of like the phases that I said that you don't need to know. It was prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. It's fine if you don't know what those are. So these are the parts of the animal cell. So first up we have this, which is the cytoplasm. Then this part, which is the outer part, is the cell membrane. And then this is our energy boost and the powerhouse of the cell, our mitochondrion. And then this control center is our nucleus. And the thing contained inside the nucleus is our chromatin, also known as DNA. And then this part surrounding the nucleus is our endoplasmic reticulum. We have smooth and we have rough. And this is our lysosome. And then these tiny little dot things everywhere are our proteins, which our ribosomes make. And then this is our packaging distributing organelle, and it is the Golgi apparatus, also known as Golgi body. You'll hear that too. And those are the main parts of the animal cell. And this is kind of just a visual so you know how it looks like as well. And with that being said, thank you for listening. I hope you had a good time watching this video. Please subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye!